Hey guys, thanks for joining me on another episode of Jack's Mechanics. Today we've got a 2009 Audi Q7. We're doing a set of injectors on it, and I just wanted to show you a common misdiagnosed issue. So this is a 3-litre V6 turbo diesel. CASA is this particular engine code. Excuse me. And as you can see up the top here, we have our injector lines coming from our fuel rail. Same on the opposing side. This thing is double overhead cam, and the injectors go down the center, and you can see 1, 2, 3 looking at our electrical connectors. So essentially we've got to take our bolts off the top here, our cover bolts, and they're essentially sealing the oil from coming out of the rocker cover, and I'll show you that when I pull it apart. But if we were to start this one back up, basically it sounds like it has an exhaust leak. It's going pop, 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 coming down from around the side of the exhaust manifold here, which is actually located underneath this boost pipe, so pretty hard to see. What you can see, hopefully, if I zoom you in down there, that black carbon on that heat shield there is a common sign of the actual injector seals. The copper washers are failed, the sealing washers in the cylinder head. So we'll show you what happens, and we'll show you why that happens. But yeah, the washers essentially are failed, and that black soot down there is combustion leakage, but it's coming out of the side of the cylinder head around the exhaust manifold, and I'll explain to you why that happens, and I'll just give you an overview of how to we change these injectors. So on any common rail diesel engine, you want to allow a couple of minutes for the fuel pressure to dissipate, and then you can crack off your lines and get into your job. Different for a GDI, petrol GDI system, where that will retain max fuel pressure as long as that car is essentially not running. So be wary of petrol GDI. CRD, you want to leave it a couple minutes for the fuel pressure to dissipate, and then it's safe to work on. So we're going to start by taking off all our electrical connectors, then our fuel lines, and then we'll work on our 4mm Allen head bolts over the top here. So we'll take all those off, 8 either side, probably move the harness out of the way, and then underneath there we have our hold down clamp, which in this particular case has got 2 studs and 2 10mm nuts. And yeah, we'll start pulling it off. We also got to get our return line off as well. So I'll pull these connectors off, and I'm going to pull these lines off, and we'll start working on the clamps. So just disconnected our first one, and as you can see, no fuel pressure. So yeah, it's been about, I don't know, a good few minutes, and yeah, safe, nice and safe to work on. You don't want to be getting diesel into you. If you do get diesel injected into your skin, you need to rush to emergency at the hospital and make them very aware of what's going on. If you don't know what diesel, I don't know if it's poisoning, but diesel in the skin looks like, I suggest you Google it, and you will understand why it's such an emergency. It doesn't take long for sort of the diesel rot to set in. So just keep working on these, and it'll get you back. So we took the return lines off, and our injector pipes off. Obviously blanked up our fuel rail. We don't really want any contaminants getting in there. If you guys are wondering where we get these blanks from, Clint at Diesel Help Australia. He sells all that sort of stuff, diagnostic equipment, training, online training. Great guy. So he sells lots of tools. Like I say, he does only diesel work, so he has all the knowledge To get our return line off, we just pull our connector up at the top. This is usually pressed down to this part here, so grab it here. I just grabbed it with my pliers just up the top, and be gentle and just give it a little tug, and that pops up. And then when they go back on, they just go down onto the return part and push it down, lock it all together. Tied my wiring harness out of the way, and I took the little bracket off that houses the O2 sensor wiring, and the main harness hold down as well. So we'll get our little 4mm Allen head bolts out. These plates don't actually come out, we just want to pick them up and rotate them. So we'll get that to the next step. So this is how we essentially want to get it set up. Take all our bolts out and twist our plates, and now we can see our hold down plates and our 10mm nuts. Obviously at this point, be very careful. You do not want to be dropping that nut inside that rock cover. You're going to be having a very, very bad day if that happens. Well, maybe not a very bad day, but you're going to be having a bad day. We always want to try and limit how bad our day is. So we're just going to work on those. It shouldn't be too tight. Torque spec's only 10 Newton meters, so a 3/8 ratchet should do the trick just here, and then we'll pull them out. So we've got all of our nuts off. So hopefully at this point they're not too stuck in there. Hopefully, being the key word. Might be a two-handed job. Might need to pop the slide hammer on there, but we should just be able to pull them up. We'll get two hands on there, try and get it up, and take that how you want it. If not, we'll get the slide hammer on there and pop them out. Give me 1 second. Well, I guess I make my own luck. That's quite unfortunate. The copper washer, which usually is housed down the bottom of the injector housing there, actually came up with the injector. And as it came up with the injector, it fell into the rock cover. So that's awesome. You know, what might have been a better idea for me would have been to actually clean this area off. We've got a little bit of dirt and debris on the camshaft there, which we will give it a clean off, but now it looks like we're pulling the rock cover off, which, you know, I've never done one before. Doesn't look like a major job. Maybe an extra hour, half hour added onto the job once we clean it up and everything. But what a Peter, pain in the ass. Is what it is. I managed to obviously just pull that one out by hand. I'll try and work on these other two. Try not to lose those copper washers. Not that it really matters that much. I've had a look in there. You can't even see where it dropped. Oh well. I'll work on that. I'll get you guys back. So we're screwed onto the top of the injector. Got our adapters on. Then we have our piece on the top there, our little swivel. And then we've got our slide here. So we're going to screw this end on and then essentially just pull it up, and with this slides on there, and pull that injector out. Obviously two-handed job because this thing is bloody heavy, so we'll just pop that one out. It should come out nice and easy. Alright, so this is the first injector we pulled out, the one that unfortunately the copper washer fell into the engine, which is the first time I've seen that. Usually they always stick down in the cylinder. Either way, you can see quite nice, looks pretty clean. Same with the next cylinder along. If we get to the back cylinder, which was the stuck one, lift this up, you can see just how dirty that is in comparison. And the reason that is because that copper washer that sits up the top there has failed, and now we're essentially getting exhaust blow up the injector from this is in the cylinder, and it's blowing up the injector. So the whole point for this video essentially is to show you that black carbony soot stuff that is blowing up that heat shield. why that happens. So the engineers behind this, pretty smart, got to give it to them. Obviously we've got our injectors inside there. If we didn't have this set up, all that soot is going to make its way into the engine, into the lubricating system. It's going to make its way down to the sump. It's going to block the pickup, and we're going to have oil starvation issues. So it might be a bit hard for me to show you, but we'll give it a good whirl. We can see our copper washer that's stuck down the bottom there. I'll just try and get it focused. Bear with me. Alright, so copper washer down the bottom there. You can see that hole halfway in the cylinder head. On the lower side of the cylinder head, in the injector tube. That hole is essentially cast through a port. So I'll go to a cleaner one. We'll look at it here. That hole is sitting right about here. So what happens, we've got our rubber seal that sits here. Our washer fails, exhaust starts blowing up, and then it makes its way and it blows out of that hole, and it's cast through, and the exhaust manifold, let's just call this the exhaust manifold, it blows through and it comes out the exhaust. That way all that carbon and that soot doesn't make its way into the engine. But it's commonly misdiagnosed as an exhaust manifold leak, when in fact it is this copper washer down here that is failed. So that's where we're at. That's why commonly misdiagnosed as an exhaust leak. But yeah, that's the overall cause. Copper washer failing, port cast into the head, leaks out of the exhaust manifold, misdiagnosed. Apologise for me sniffling again. I've been sick almost the third week, but this is our slider hammer setup. Pretty cool little system. And I'll give you a part number, hopefully. The sticker's gone, so that's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to work on pulling this rock cover off, and we'll find this unfortunate copper washer. We'll get those other two copper washers out and get it cleaned up, and yeah, then we've got 3 injectors coming today, 3 coming in another couple of days. So I'll put this side back together, and I'll work on that side when we get our injectors back together. But essentially I don't think you guys will see that. You'll probably just see it back together running. But yeah, that's essentially it. Just wanted to show you guys how to pull them apart, and the reason for misdiagnosis. Overall, pretty cool diagnosis, misdiagnosis nonetheless. So hope you guys learned something. If you did, please consider liking, please consider subscribing, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks for following me. Take care. Well, there she lies. So we'll grab that out, we'll clean all this up, and we'll put it back together. I love my job sometimes. So now it's always a bit of a challenge to get the copper washers out, but I made this tool, which is sort of just like a little hook. Not too sure if it will work in this application being a V, but we'll check. It does take a little bit of time, but bear with me. I'll see if I can hook this one out and show you. So yeah, we managed to hook it out. I know there is special tools, but yeah, I just thought I would show you. You can make your own thing. I'll explain the special tool to you in 1 second. I'm just going to have to put my other finger down there to grab this. So you can see that all the washers are worn, quite worn there. This is probably usual thickness, but the last one we'll see probably quite bad, maybe blown out completely. The first one was even the same as this one as well, but still not leaking. So we've cleaned up as much dirt and debris as we can. Probably we'll just try and get a little bit more out, but all in all, looking pretty respectable. But yeah, I mean, we all learn. I guess I should have probably degreased it and blown it down before, which I definitely will do with the other side. Hopefully I don't need to pull that rocker cover off, but yeah, it's pretty easy. Pull the fuel rail off, get all the bolts out, and yeah, it sort of just pops up. It's just only a small little rocket cover, so we'll get a new gasket on there and get it back together. Still waiting on these injectors, so that's that. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So the tool that you can get for these essentially is a little screw on a long shaft, and you put it in and you screw it, and then you just pull it up, and it essentially just screws into the washer, a tapered screw, and pops it out. Well, probably should invest in it, but whatever, this seems to do the trick most of the time. Got our last one here, and you can clearly see a big difference. I'll grab the one that wasn't leaking. Oh, you know, it's not that massive a difference. They're all probably pretty close to leaking. So we'll just clean up the bottom. You sort of want it nice and clean like that. I'll try and get the just want to get it cleaned up. You don't want to take any some tools, they have like a little grinder that goes down the bottom there to clean up the seat. And be very careful using those, because you will change the installed height of the injector, and you can cause a lot of issues there. So you do not want to be cleaning that too aggressively, just a little clean. And yeah, essentially we'll give it a little bit more of a clean up. Like I said, order a new rock cover gasket, get the rock cover back on. This one will be set to go back in. Yeah, a bit of a pain in the ass, really. None of this stuff was really needed. You know, but whatever, these things happen, and yeah, we move on. So yeah, so we're all back together, apart from our electrical connectors. We'll crank it over, build fuel pressure before we get them to electrically open. It's a good practice, because you don't want combustion essentially smashing up into the not combustion, just pressure smashing up into the injector when there's no fuel pressure there to essentially push it back down. So yeah, that's where we're at, all back together. I've got to just put my clamp on here, but this side's done, rock cover's done. I've got our other three in. Again, no electrical connectors. I'll just turn the torch on. And yeah, so we're just going to code the injectors. So your injector coding on these ones are on the top of your injector, 1, 2, 3, all different codes, and the firing order on this car is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've already coded these three. I did that yesterday afternoon, but I will show you the process. It's literally just punch some buttons in. So I just take a photo of them before we install them, and then we popped them in, and now I'll just write them on the back of our job sheet so I can show you in one process. But usually I would just go back to I'll have my phone open with the picture and then punch the code over. But yeah, straightforward process. So I'll get the scan tool hooked up and write these codes down, and we'll show you the programming. So I got the key on. Just loaded the car up the top there, top left you can see, into engine, into functional tests, special functions, injector coding. That's basically just a clause saying not clause, it's just not a good idea to program new injectors. I just thought that I was recording, but I wasn't recording, and I input the wrong number. The first letter I actually wrote down as an 8, but it's a B, so B 1 1 F 7 W I, and then we hit enter. B11 F7WI, program that. That one's done. Injector coding again. Go through the same menu. 6-cylinder. injector 5. As you can see, that's the original one. So we'll click on that, and we want to input C I S7 E1H E1H CIS7 E1H. Go on to the number 6. So we got B2S5 AWH. B2S5AWH program. Beauty. Alright, we'll crank the car. Let's, obviously we've got no injectors plugged in. Battery's a bit low. We do have a jump pack on there. Alright, hopefully that's good. We'll go and plug all these electrical connectors in and fire it up. Okay, and injectors are plugged in. But I hope that would have fired by now. Might have to bring some data up and see if we actually got fuel pressure. It's also cranking pretty slow because of that battery. Might have to charge this battery and retry. Just trying to fire it up again. Not happy. Let's get some fuel road pressure, not enough, it needs 30,000 kPa. What a big, that battery's really suffering. Doesn't look like we've got any fuel pressure. Oh, we've got good. Alright, well, we'll assess that fuel pressure, and I'm going to charge this battery. I'll get back to you guys. So I just want to wrap up this video. Obviously the ending of it, that we didn't really see the car started. Essentially, we had no fuel pressure, and that was a fault of my own. I was in a bit of a rush on the Thursday and Friday afternoon trying to get the job done, and overlooked plugging in the fuel pressure regulator, or the pressure relief valve, whatever you want to call it. Everyone has different terminologies. So essentially, what we would usually do, like we did, crank the car. We could have been monitoring the fuel pressure at that time, crank the car, build up some fuel pressure, go outside, plug all the injectors in, fire it up, all good, make sure you got no leaks, send it away. But yeah, we had no fuel pressure, so it threw me a bit of a loop. I couldn't even see the connector, so it took a little bit of time to work out what was going on there. I was a bit tired at the end of the day, and yeah, so unfortunately didn't get to see the car run. Does run great. That's all good. Customer took the car away, he's happy with it. But yeah, I mean, we got an overview of the whole job and a commonly misdiagnosed exhaust leak, etc. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We also went into the coding of them, and yeah, so I hope you guys took something away from it at least. But car runs good, and that's the main thing. Just didn't get to, do a final video just from rushing and putting it back together and scratching our heads for a little bit, but it is what it is. So yeah, we'll catch you next time, guys. Take care.